before we said a single word, we knew the power of connection. It's taught us to learn, discover, and grow. Now, the power of connection means we can collaborate, innovate, and transform. In today's world, only connected businesses can turn uncertainty into opportunity by building teams where people and technology don't just coexist, they thrive together. Gaining visibility into every dollar spent and transforming costs into value. Creating supply chains so smart, disruptions become advantages. Uniting everyone with financial forecasts built on one clear vision. And making customer experiences so connected, relationships last a lifetime. With SAP, all parts of your business come together as one. Because when you connect everything, you can achieve anything. SAP, bring out your best.
Please welcome to the stage, Mohammed Alam.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Wow, the whole thing looks a lot more impressive with everybody here sitting on the stage as opposed to the rehearsals. Depending on how the keynote goes, I may need to come back here and find a second career in just doing some more shows here in Vegas. Hopefully. Listen, thank you for being here in Las Vegas at SAP Connect, and a big welcome to all of our virtual audiences as well. We're living in some very unique times. Unique in terms of the unpredictability we face from a geopolitical and a macroeconomic conditions perspective, but also unique in terms of the advancement in AI and the transformation potential that carries for all of us. And that is why, for such unique times, we have created SAP Connect, a conference that brings together all functions of an organization to connect and to amplify the power of the whole, enabling you to most optimally respond to these disruptions and capitalize on the opportunities. We hope you find value in hearing about innovations in not just your own functional area, but also across other related functions, and in connecting with the many product leaders that we have from SAP, other customers, and industry experts that are here this week. Now, speaking of experts, there are a lot of them out there making a lot of headline-grabbing predictions on how the world of business applications will change in the age of AI. Some say it will lead to the end of SaaS, while others equally vehemently argue the other way. If you step back, though, it's not hard to spot the correlation between the prediction and how accretive they are to the valuation of the predictor. So before we get too far into the event, we would like to take the opportunity to outline our point of view on the changing shape of business applications and, more importantly, the logic behind it. First, we believe a seamless app, data, and AI flywheel creates the highest value. Otherwise, the cost and the opportunity costs of doing something else are very significant for your organization. If you add in a separate AI layer on top of your applications layer, you would need to build and maintain integrations across it and every other application and data source in your landscape. And not just that, you would also have to build a completely new roles and permissions framework to keep the right security structure in place for accessing data. On the other hand, if you have a disconnected data layer from the applications, you lose the semantical richness of the data and have to spend significant amount of time and effort harmonizing it across your various sources. Now, while both can be done with significant additional investments, you still face the opportunity cost in terms of reduced accuracy and reduced adoption. With a seamless app, data, and AI flywheel, you benefit from increased accuracy and lower hallucinations with innovations such as the SAP Knowledge Graph and the foundation model we're working on. Adoption also comes more naturally since AI is natively available in the applications people work every day. All of this makes it a hard-to-beat premise. Second, AI, with the broadest context, provides the deepest value. This means access to not just data in one domain or two domains, but across all domains, while also being deeply business process and role aware. This seamless understanding of enterprise-wide context is what allows the most optimal reasoning to generate the best recommendations for meeting your organizational objectives. Your organization, in this case, being your entire business, not just one functional area or two. This then enables you to achieve global maxima and not just siloed local optimums. If you have local optimums with their own standalone app, data, AI flywheels across different functions, you will still need to then manually recreate an enterprise-wide data and AI layer on top, and with all the challenges that comes with it. This is why we believe a business suite that offers best-in-class capability across the breadth of your business and has an out-of-the-box harmonized data model is not just a nice-to-have, but a must-have in the age of AI. And it's not just because of the value, it's also because it allows you to save significant costs by not having to then integrate the applications just to run your business. Standalone and best-of-breed players that focus on just one or two domains, such as procurement or HCM, will then, by definition, struggle to create enterprise-wide value with AI. Third, AI will fundamentally reinvent business applications. This, from us, is not a prediction nor something designed to generate a headline. We know that because we are busy reinventing them ourselves at SAP. Simply put, we see 5 patterns of AI-driven innovation. The first is seamlessly embedded AI and agentic experiences. We're seeing this already across the board, but particularly in applications that have deep business process, industry, or regulatory and compliance needs. Next is the emergence of agent-driven autonomous execution capabilities. This can be an evolution of the first pattern or one that can apply largely to any kind of application and can also bring together multiple applications together. Another pattern is what we call truly AI-native applications that are built from the ground up in the age of AI, making it impossible to differentiate AI from the application itself. These are very rare, as you can imagine, since it requires that the application is designed and built with AI in mind from the very start. We'll talk about some examples in this category later. We will also see app-less experiences driven by AI and agents with an evolving conversational engagement layer. Here, it's not that the underlying application would cease to exist. It won't, and it will still fundamentally be required, but a user may never need to engage with the application directly. Think of applications like expense management, travel, or sales and pipeline management that would be the firsts in such patterns. And finally, there are no apps experiences where the app either, in fact, doesn't exist, or rather can be generated real-time with AI and vibe coding. This can easily replace, even today, the apps that you're building custom in-house or low-code, no-code apps that you may be using in your landscape. Across all of these, you will see a new emerging conversational AI-driven engagement layer, what we call Gen UI. That becomes the one place for users for almost everything. Things like information retrieval, deep insights, navigation, agent interactions, and many, many more things. This week, you will hear about announcements and see demos that showcase literally all of these patterns in the SAP Business Suite. And now, to show you the power of seamlessness across the app, data, and AI flywheel, and across the full SAP Business Suite, highlighting some of the patterns we just talked about, please join me in welcoming Stephan de Barse, our President of SAP Business Suite, to the stage. Stephan.
Hello everyone, and it's truly great to be here. What I want to do today is bring the Business Suite to life with an end-to-end demo. And for context, you're going to see a manufacturing company with global operations all over the world. It's in the high-tech industry, and the CFO detects a couple of business challenges. These business challenges need to be solved by collaboration with the other stakeholders in the organization. So let's go and get started. So imagine a CFO walking in on the Monday morning and getting an overview of the state of the business. What you will find there in the bottom is an overview of sales, revenue, and working capital. This is clearly highlighting there is a revenue gap, there is a sales gap, and on top of that, working capital is not in shape. In the top layer, what you find there is business process insights. Here, we are, for instance, seeing that there's duplicated invoices, that there are orders that are shipped but not billed, but there are also some payment term discrepancies. So we want to get started, and Joule, our co-pilot, highlights that there are a couple of business process issues that are highlighted, and if we would solve them, we could generate 40 million in value. So obviously, we want to dive in and say, let's start with procurement to pay. What are the issues and what do we need to do? Joule comes back and said, look, the biggest issue that we have are payment term discrepancies. So we can see the root cause, we can see the total impact, but we can also see the reason for that. And now we want to ask Joule, do create a plan and help solve for that. Joule comes back, and with the help of AI, we get a plan. And the plan highlights what we need to do. For instance, updating our supplier master data, enforcing standard payment terms, and so forth. So what do we want to do? We want to say, okay, Joule, please, go ahead and action these activities. The next step would be to look into order to cash. Do we have some issues there as well? And again, here, Joule is highlighting we have two issues. The first issue is that we have late deliveries for a number of reasons. And the second issue is that we have shipped but not billed. So obviously, we want to solve for that. And as you can see, there is quite some revenue at risk. So please go ahead, create a plan. Now, Mohammed just talked about the app-less experience. What you're seeing here is SAP Signavio, but I don't have to go to Signavio to go through this flow. I can do this through Joule, create a plan, and action that. So now, when we go through that plan, we see that we have, if we action all of that, an opportunity to deliver 40 million in value. Now, the next step would be to actually work together with the CRO, because what we also saw, and you can see that here as well, in the revenue intelligence as part of BDC, is a revenue gap and a sales gap. So the key question is, what do we need to do to solve for that? And again, here, we open up Joule, and Joule brings us to our opportunity dashboard, where we can see our budget, our forecast, our upside, as well as what is the current gap. And what Joule is highlighting is, look, the current budget attainment tracks at 80%. We have a 500 million gap. So Could you suggest what I should do about that? And Joule comes back and said, look, there are 3 active upside opportunities that we could actually look into, because if we can move them into the forecast, we would close our budget attainment issue. So the double click would be to say, hey, why don't we focus on that first opportunity, bring us to the opportunity summary, and highlight what the issue is. And the issue is that this particular customer, has placed an order for a certain configuration, but that configuration is outside of the customer delivery time. So now the key question is, will that opportunity then go to our competitor, or could we do something about it? What Joule highlights is that instead of selling this configuration, we could potentially sell more standardized configuration that we have sold more than 10 times over the past 2 years. So what would you like to do? What we want to do is Joule write an email to the customer and highlight, hey, we are going to try and do our best to deliver that custom configuration on time, but at the same time, would you be willing to change your mind and go for a more standardized approach? So we send that email, and the next step would be to work together with the COO. Why do we want to work together with the COO? Because we still want to understand, could we actually deliver that customized or configuration within the 30-day lead time? That's exactly what we are going to ask. And here, we're going to ask for the deep research agent to find an opportunity to deliver this opportunity within the 30 days. And what Joule comes back is something pretty interesting. It shows that custom configuration on the left top side that is highlighted and requested by the customer. But as we can see, there's a couple of critical components that are not in stock, and on top of that, the lead time to get there is more than 100 days. So that's clearly not working. What is working is a more standardized configuration that we have solved in the past, as you can see there on the right-hand side in the evaluation. Now, that is the option that we want to go for. That's also what Joule highlights. I would position an alternative GPU configuration. But what Joule is also highlighting, if that's not accepted by the customer, we could, for instance, offer incentives for extended lead time. So what we want to do, we want to go for option 1, but at the same time, we are seeing that even in the standardized configuration, there's one critical component not in stock, so we need to work together with the Chief Procurement Officer to get that expedited. So we move to the CPO, and again, Joule highlights that we need to take action on that particular component and controller to get that delivered within the next 30 business days. And we say, look, there is a confirmed supplier where we can do that. Let's move forward and start the PO process. But before we do that, we want to obviously understand, are there any concerns that come up in the business? And one of the things that we are seeing is, through the integration with Perplexity, we are getting an alert that there is a potential supply risk. And Perplexity comes back and said, look, actually a couple of hours ago, an earthquake hit in Thailand, and this supplier has its most manufacturing sites in Thailand. What could we do about that? And here the answer is, we're going to use our SAP Business Network, which is the largest business-to-business network in the world, with more than 3 million suppliers transacting on that every single day. And based on the network, what we find, there's 2 alternative suppliers, but they're in Vietnam. So the question is, could we actually go for one of them? Now, what we are seeing, there is one that fits our lead time of 30 days, but at the same time, it is quite expensive. So what we want to do is to understand, did we actually negotiate better terms with this supplier in the past? And we are asking the Gemini agent to find in our inbox whether we did yes or no. And the answer is yes, we did. So we want to take that unstructured data, make that structured, confirm the RFP, and issue this. So we issue the RFP, we should get the components on time, and the next thing would be to work together with HR. What we are finding in general when it comes to the HR organization is the move to a skill-based organization. And what we want to ask Joule is, hey, what are the skill gaps that we are seeing in the commercial organization? And what we have seen, obviously, in this demo so far is that we just have accepted an order from a customer for a special configuration that is outside the delivery window. At the same time, we also saw that we have sold a more standardized configuration more than 10 times in the past 2 years. So why is the commercial organization not picking that up? Why are we not using the data to shape demand proactively? That's exactly what is highlighted here, that we have some skill gaps in the commercial organization. Those skills are AI-driven sales insights, some decision intelligence, and solution configuration with AI. So what we want to do next, we actually want to ask the SuccessFactors learning agent to come up with a plan to solve for some of those skill gaps. And the feedback is, hey, we can actually initiate an upscale plan that can be delivered in the next 45 days. So then we come back to the CFO, and obviously the CFO picture looks much better. In the top, we have solved a lot of the business process issues, so we can deliver 40 million more in value. But in the bottom, we also see that we do not have a budget gap anymore. We're actually tracking towards a budget attainment of 110%. So we asked Joule to summarize an update when it comes to what has happened in the business, because we want to share that with the CEO of the company. And that's where we get next. As a CEO, you also have a personalized dashboards with the state of the business. And we ask AI to actually summarize the state of the business and what happened. And here you can see that AI summarized that we started the quarter with an 80% budget attainment. But due to the activities of the commercial organization, we can actually deliver now 110%. However, in order to do that, we have to expedite some materials from an alternative supplier in Vietnam. That is more expensive and hence put a pressure on gross margin. Now, what we also saw is that we have solved some of the business process issues, and that delivered more than 40 million in annual value. So what we then want to do is actually open the report and look at the P&L, where we can then also get financial results and insights. And here, we can see budget, versus latest forecasts. We can see top line. We also see cost and gross margin. And the summary is, hey, we can actually deliver 110% of budget, but we as an organization need to be okay that the gross margin will drop from the initially predicted 12% to 11%, simply because we have that alternate supplier issue in Vietnam. But on top of that, we can actually deliver an incremental 40 million because we are solving those process issues in procurement to pay and in order to cash. Now, on top of that, we can then also look at a P&L by time and see that over time, the forecast, keeps ahead of budget, which means that the business is in good shape and we can deliver, on the budget that we set for ourselves. So that would summarize the Business Suite demo, where you could see, how do we detect a business issue, from a CFO perspective. That obviously cannot be solved by just the CFO community. We have to collaborate proactively with the other functions in the organization. And I think what is beautiful about the Business Suite, it's not just the ability to solve that problem, but to do that, at scale, to do that with much greater pace, and also to break down the silos in an organization where these functions come together and work better together. So thank you so much, and I want to ask Mohammed to come back on stage.
Thank you, Stephan. This was one of the longer demos we've done in any events, but we thought it was an important one because it so beautifully showcases the tremendous value of not just a seamless app data and AI flywheel, but also the power of seamless end-to-end business suite that, again, aims for the global maxima for your enterprise. But we know that you have a lot more on your mind these days than just the evolving role of business applications. And based on what we hear, we can categorize them into three themes. First, turning uncertainty into opportunity. From supply chain disruptions to financial market volatility, every business is dealing with uncertainty. But with uncertainty also comes opportunity. How do you move from being in a continuous reaction mode to creating predictable, resilient growth? Second, evolving the workforce in the age of AI. AI and agents are at the top of the hype cycle. The potential, for sure, is real. The realized value, not so much. How do you lead the way in helping people adapt and thrive in a world where human judgment and AI will need to work side by side for a long period of time? And finally, creating unparalleled customer value. At the end of the day, you want growth, and that comes with creating amazing customer value, which in turn requires the enterprise to work together as a whole. So let's begin with turning uncertainty into opportunity. Every day, leaders navigate variables outside of their control: tariffs, geopolitics, regulations, economic swings, to name a few. And these uncertainties raise real questions, such as, how will they affect my growth? Can we manage around the risks? And what choices can we make today to strengthen our position tomorrow? We know that 8 out of 10 CEOs now say that volatility is here to stay as the new normal. We also know that 70% of the CFOs are putting cost reduction at the same time as their top priority. This is not an issue for just one industry or one region. It's a universal reality impacting all of us every day, including, as you can imagine, SAP, with more than 400,000 customers in 180 countries. To explore this topic further, I'm excited to welcome 2 leaders with great insights on this topic. First, someone who guides SAP through this environment every day, our Chief Financial Officer, Dominik Asam. And joining him is Professor Ulrike Malmendier, who is an economics professor at UC Berkeley and one of the leading voices in economics. Her research has shaped how we think about markets, corporate behavior, and uncertainty. Together, they will discuss how uncertainty shapes not just SAP's strategy, but the choices and opportunities facing every leader in this room. Please join me in welcoming Dominik and Ulrike to the stage. Dominik and Ulrike.
Thank you, Mohammed, and welcome also from my side. Let's dive right into the topic. I think I also speak for the entire audience here if I say that we feel uncertainty is actually always increasing more recently. Now, that's just a gut feeling. You have done a lot of research on that. So tell us, what are the key challenges we as leaders grapple with, and how do we actually react to that uncertainty?
Yeah, you're totally right. My research is more relevant than I've ever wished it would be. We live in a time of unprecedented uncertainty if we think geopolitical challenges, economic, ecological ones, technological ones. So all of these uncertainties are steeply increasing. And when we think about how to react to that, often the first step can be that we think about the bad outcome. You know, our trade model doesn't work anymore, how do we fix it? Technology, we thought VR is the future, oh, we have to pivot to AI. But what the research shows, what the data shows, it's not just the bad outcomes that can come from these uncertainties, it's the uncertainty itself. As a company, as you're about to engage in some next steps in terms of your investment, you're kind of stalled because you don't know where the path is going. So what happens? As a company, either you end up in paralysis or you run the risk to go all in on a technology which won't be the future. All of that also aggregates up. So as a macroeconomist, I see all this paralysis in terms of investment aggregating up to less growth, less creativity, less innovation. And that's exactly what we want to avoid. Now, there's no beautiful answer how to avoid it. Basically, we all have to find our path, navigating between these 2 extremes, avoiding both the complete paralysis and the one-sided bet. That's at least the macro perspective. Now, for you, sitting in the cockpit of a global tech company, how does that translate into your daily life?
Yeah, actually, I really like this metaphor of a cockpit because as a CFO, you do consider yourself a little bit as a co-pilot, and you have to figure out, given that uncertainty, and uncertainty blurs the picture, basically, how can I come back to control, see all the available paths that are available to us to take action? And if I look at AI and bring that into context, I ask myself, isn't AI the engine that can give me that kind of transparency a pilot or co-pilot has in the cockpit of a modern aircraft? You see all the instruments in front of you. The data is actually coming to you as opposed to you having to chase the data. And you also shed a lot of tasks by automating things, so can really focus on what matters to keep the aircraft on the right trajectory. Now, why is that so important? We have what I call a triple whammy of challenges in our businesses. The growth pressure is not easing. I mean, all the adversities you describe are actually dampening growth, but we have to deliver results to customers, to shareholders. Then there is regulation. Makes our life much more complicated, especially in Europe. I think we all know what I talk about. And last but not least, we have to constantly transform businesses. So it's becoming a moving target. And that's why I think basically AI gives us this unique opportunity to establish a suite of solutions that are kind of the avionics of an enterprise. And enterprises are much more complicated than aircraft actually are.
Okay, so I'm very glad to hear that you think our airplanes are traveling safely, and moreover, that waiting is not an option, that we have to move forward with investment. That's, of course, what as an economist I want to see, so we actually will have growth, that we don't run this big risk that the economy will flatten out in light of all of these uncertainties. Now, what type of moving forward, however, right? So waiting is not an option. Blind investing, I assume you also want to avoid that one-sided bet I was talking about. So some kind of moving forward that's conscious of all the options, real option thinking. How do you approach it? As economists, we often think about, maximize the worst outcome, but that really doesn't give you the edge. That makes you risk falling behind because you're just focused on avoiding the bad outcome. So you need to be willing to experiment, to have some regrets, but I suppose in a portfolio type of way?
Absolutely. The option is important. The flexibility is important. And we see a lot of enterprises, and that's also true to some degree of us, SAP, that have been over years creating some rigid structures to run the businesses in. And that is not giving you the maximum option value. Now, with the volatility increasing, the good news is actually the value of the options are increasing. I think somebody earned a Nobel Prize for that insight, the Black-Scholes model that some of us learned at business school. And you have to ask yourself, so how can I create the maximum options, and what are the no-regret moves that contribute value independently of the turn we're taking in the world? And I do believe, as a CFO, one key priority is to create that absolute transparency about all the options you have end to end, because if you don't see them, it's hard to monetize them. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you see actually on a higher kind of political level, on a geopolitical level, governments dealing with that kind of flexibility thinking, creating options and so forth?
Yeah, I hope they're listening to us too, because this drive to get all available data, to think about flexibility is sometimes missing. The temptation is instead very often in times of uncertainty to kind of retreat back to the safe grounds. You can think about just domestic production, you can think about reshoring or even friendshoring, but we have to be aware that no block of countries can create the same benefits the globalized economy, the interconnected economy has created for us. Of course, there are concerns. There are concerns about unequal distributions of winners and losers, and we should be aware of those. But we would be nowhere near where we are today in terms of availability of goods and services, from medicine to technology, if we didn't have an interconnected global economy. So from an economist perspective, the answer is not to raise barriers. It will always be to lower barriers, to allow more connections, to build bridges, not to tear them down. Which doesn't mean that we shouldn't discuss who are the winners, who are the losers. Ignoring that has been a problem for many countries, including the US here. But the flip side is not protectionism, is not reshoring. That's not the solution. So instead, I think some of the strategies you mentioned that are relevant for you on the corporate level, to think about it in a portfolio way, to diversify, to create a more resilient system, is what countries have to do as well.
Yeah, talking about resiliency, I think the one topic you see in finance a lot is the concept of diversification.
Yes.
When people invest money, it turns out that if you have a limited risk budget you can take, and that's also true for corporates, the broader you look at the options you can execute, the better chances you have to blend these options in a way to give you a more robust return on that limited risk budget. And I think that's something we really have to thrive for, to get that ability to execute on them. And that leads me to the concept of really creating these options on a global level, and I think it was nicely highlighted in prior presentations here, to, the same way an asset manager has to pick from the global assets, that you also pick from all the courses of action available to the corporation, and not only in one silo, driving a local optimum, but really driving it across the entire enterprise. So I think there is a lot we can learn from academics, and I'm very grateful that you have been here to teach us some about that. Thanks so much for that. And I think with that, we are heading back to Mohammed.
Thank you, Dominik and Professor Malmendier. And I can attest to the fact that, I don't know if I would want Dominik's job. It's pretty hard to navigate through the resiliency. And for me as an R&D leader, it's pretty easy to just push a bill in front of him and say, hey, I need this many more people and this many more things to go do. But the global maxima is hard to get to, because it does mean at some level there is compromises you're making to get to that. And what we heard just now is a powerful reminder that uncertainty is real and it's not going away. But even the most significant challenges can be responded to, navigated, and when approached the right way, turned into opportunities. And that is where SAP comes in, because the best way to face uncertainty is with confidence that you can see what's happening across your business and across your network. And on that note, I'm excited to share our first set of product announcements that will help you not only survive through the uncertainty, but thrive. First is our new supply chain orchestration solution. This is one of those truly AI native applications which uses a network knowledge graph to analyze real-time signals across your multi-tier supply chain. It senses for risks and issues such as extreme weather or tariffs, and helps you assess the impact of these risks and suggest alternatives to help minimize any disruptions that may happen. Think of it like a GPS that knows that there's traffic or issues on the route and suggests proactively alternative routes for you to get to your destination. We're also really excited to announce a major update to the SAP Ariba Source-to-Pay suite. This update puts Ariba in the unique category of having the most modern platform in the industry and the only truly AI native source-to-pay solution built from the ground up on SAP Business Technology Platform. It enables you to approach procurement in a truly agentic and autonomous fashion. This update also, of course, includes a completely redesigned user experience, embedded analytics, and seamless integration across SAP Cloud ERP. We've also gone to great lengths to ensure that this is a non-disruptive update for our existing customers that will not require a re-implementation, so all of your investments are safe and secure. You can clap for this one. We're really proud of it. You could have clapped for the supply chain orchestration too. We were also super proud of that too, to the supply chain team here. Now let's shift gears to another kind of uncertainty leaders are grappling with. The uncertainty about the future of work itself. Will, for instance, AI reduce knowledge worker jobs? Are people utilizing AI tools as best as they can? Or, in the most extreme version, will organizations even need people anymore? The story of AI in the workplace is both encouraging, yet unfinished. Today, 44% of workplaces report using AI tools, but only 1 in 5 employees have a clear understanding on how to apply them in their daily jobs. And that's where SAP plays a vital role, helping organizations take AI from isolated pilots to creating business-wide advantage. This human and AI partnership is critical for realizing the value of your AI investments. And in a world where everyone is talking about agents, billions of agents, and agents taking over everything, we wanted to talk about people, the roles they play, and the tried and tested organizational constructs in place today that are running super complex businesses across industries. We are making Joule deeply aware of the person it's partnering with, their role, and the business process context in which they operate. Today, we are introducing AI assistants. A receivables assistant for your accounts receivable colleagues, a controlling assistant for your controlling colleagues, a sourcing assistant for your sourcing colleagues, an AI assistant for every role, an AI assistant for you. And each assistant, oh, you could give, I'll take the clap anytime, by the way, don't be shy. Each assistant has agents and tools at their disposal to help the person it's partnering with to be smarter and more efficient. Let's take our accounts receivable assistant as an example. It can do collections and dispute resolution today. And soon, it will be able to help with fraud detection, invoice processing, and payment scheduling. Over time, we'll continue to make this assistant even smarter by adding more agents and tools. But we know that not all businesses are alike, and not all roles across all companies do exactly the same things. We also know that you have other non-SAP applications in your landscape. We don't like it, but we know you have them. and for those unique capabilities, and for these assistants to do smart things across your non-SAP applications, we have an agent builder experience in Joule Studio, in SAP Build, that allows you to make your receivables assistant even more effective with powerful with custom agents. Now, we have these assistants not just, as I said, for your accounts receivable colleagues, but across all roles within a function. Let's take HR as an example. We have assistants for workforce planning, for recruiting, HR operations, and many others. And because at SAP we have the broadest portfolio of business applications, we have these assistants literally for all parts of your business. You could clap, but I'll keep going. We're also proud to announce that with assistants and agents in Joule, we're working to enable autonomous execution across key business processes. This evolution would happen naturally when the assistant has a sufficient set of agents and tools in its skill sets to be able to perform all the tasks, and more importantly, when your colleague has built enough trust on the assistant's performance based on its recommendations and insights. Once this trust builds, the person would be able to instruct the assistant to execute autonomously. We are working on building assistants that enable autonomous execution both within one assistant's responsibilities, but also across various assistants working together. The customer service assistant, for example, maybe after this one, I appreciate the effort. The customer service assistant, for example, can take an incoming case, classify it into the right category, find the knowledge base articles, develop a solution proposal, present it to the customer, and wait for their feedback. It would then close the case if there is confirmation that the issue is resolved, and would even then send a survey to capture the feedback of the experience. It will only escalate to the person it's partnering with if it gets stuck in any of these steps. Now you can clap. But while efficiency and automation carry potential for great value for the organization, AI's greatest strength is in unlocking insights and recommendations based on its ability to do deep research across vast amounts of internal and external data, which is hard for people to go do. This is why we're also introducing deep research in Joule that can do exactly that and unlock those 5x, 10x, 100x type use cases for value. Let's take account planning as an example. Account planning can typically take 6 to 8 weeks because the number of accounts and the depth of research needed for each relationship is generally pretty large. With deep research, we compress that cycle to just a few hours, performing time-intensive work of synthesizing history, surfacing drivers, comparing playbooks, and drafting a plan that can lead to more value for the customer and then, of course, for you in return. The same depth of analysis can be applied to determine true product profitability or cost center analysis ahead of a new fiscal year. And now, to show you this world of agents, assistants, autonomous execution, and deep research in action, please join me in welcoming Priyanka Kaitan to stage.
The People-AI partnership that Mohammed described, that's going to be prevalent across the entire enterprise, and especially in people management, one of the most important roles a leader has. Imagine now, if every leader can have their own Joule assistant that takes away the administrative work off of their shoulders so they can focus on what truly matters: coaching, mentoring, and leadership. Let's take a look. Here we have Alex, the people manager. He's preparing for a mid-year performance review. This once meant hours lost wrestling with systems and chasing data. And now he simply asks his personal assistant to assess an employee's performance. The performance and goals agent then steps in and creates a very detailed summary of strengths, weaknesses, areas of improvement, and next steps. But feedback without action, that's just noise, we all know. So we have our career and talent development agent that generates a very personalized development plan, of course, with the permission of the manager, to turn the employee's gaps into her biggest strengths, and also sets milestones so we can make growth actionable and achievable, not just aspirational. And finally, the bigger picture, succession planning. Every organization worries about continuity and ensuring we have the right people in the right places and at the right time. The succession agent not only assesses the readiness, but also builds a strategic pathway for future leadership. And that's how we're not just running an organization, we are shaping the workforce of the future, because ultimately it's the workforce that matters. And imagine this in the hands of every leader, a future of people-AI partnership that is closer than you think. Well, let me give you another example of this people-AI partnership. And to do that, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of a manufacturing shop floor, so you can experience what happens today when a machine breaks down. Well, production stalls, planners panic, rescheduling takes hours, maintenance is called, parts are ordered, technicians are dispatched, and yet orders slip. And ultimately, customers are disappointed. But in the age of AI, we can simplify all of this to minimize disruptions across the value chain and to keep customer priorities. Imagine if instead of people racing to react, we have insights from one agent that can trigger actions across an entire network of assistants and agents with humans in the loop, of course. So now let's replay the same moment of a machine breakdown, but this time through the lens of our operations assistant, who's working 24/7 on behalf of Sam, the plant manager. The assistant is continuously monitoring all trends, KPIs, anomalies, and it then detects that we have a problem. The overall equipment effectiveness is dropping, and also the performance in one of the plants is sharply declining. Immediately, the assistant sends out an alert to Sam, the plant manager. But before Sam even has a chance to react, the assistant is already orchestrating a response. It triggers Asset Health Agent, which within moments identifies we have a critical problem with a vacuum dryer on line 1, and it appears a breakdown is imminent. Sam initiates deep research as it's a recurring high-impact failure, and he wants a full investigation into why it's happening. Joule instantly starts synthesizing data from across a multitudes of sources, such as transactional, operational, and even unstructured data from various knowledge bases, and it prepares an exhaustive report. This report surfaces the symptoms, root causes, risks, and preventive measures. With the problems identified, Sam's team is ready to take further countermeasures to prevent such recurrences in the future. Now it's time to pivot to solutions, and our assistant now shifts focus to the shop floor. The shop floor supervisor agent is already at work and has identified all the high priority orders that are at risk and needs to be rescheduled. It also suggests alternative resources that have capacity and availability. And just then, our human production supervisor steps in to select the best option to keep production moving forward. In the meantime, the assistant wants to know if maintenance is already underway. The maintenance planner agent has already scheduled repair, but it realizes a spare part is not in stock. It invokes the procurement assistant to trigger an emergency purchase order that's sent to a local pre-approved supplier who has the part in stock. And with parts confirmed, the assistant finally engages the field service dispatcher agent who recommends the best technician for this job based on skills, proximity, and availability. And as soon as the repair is complete, the assistant notifies Sam. And throughout the journey, Sam had one single unified timeline of insights and actions, from detection to diagnosis to full resolution. One simple experience powered by multiple assistants and specialized agents. And this is a powerful example of an autonomous maintenance and repair operation. Imagine the possibilities when such orchestration extends every line of business. Thank you, and back to you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Priyanka. Ultimately, everything is about customers. And it takes all of us, whether we're in finance, procurement, supply chain, HR, or customer experience, to make that happen. Today, customers expect more. They will leave faster than ever if promises are broken or experiences fall short. We find that customers stumble, or companies stumble, when sales, service, finance, and supply chain systems are running in their own silos, or when competitors deliver seamless experiences while you are still busy integrating disparate applications. Losing a single customer often takes 3 new ones to replace. Even more compelling is the fact that 73% will walk away after multiple bad experiences, and more than half will leave after just one. This is why we are doubling down on customer centricity, and the best way to bring this life is to hear directly from a customer. I'm delighted to welcome Jan Gilg, SAP's Chief Revenue Officer for the Americas, for a conversation about how a customer-centric mindset is transforming business outcomes. Jan?
So, we're almost there. Thank you, Mohammed, first of all, and it's great to be here to share the customer perspective, actually. We're seeing proof everywhere that interconnected apps are driving real productivity gains, and the opportunity is even much, much greater. For example, PwC found that industries most exposed to AI are achieving a 4-fold increase in productivity growth. And when looking at AI agents across the enterprise, they found that 66% of those who have adopted them are seeing measurable value through increased productivity. For example, in the utilities industry, we're seeing how integrated applications linking asset management, field service, and customer service are driving productivity gains in the field. So what does this tell us? Well, it's proof that when you connect intelligent across your business, you get more than just efficiency. You get a powerful productivity engine for uncertain times. And we see ripple effects across different lines of business. Controllers and CFOs, they can get time back to focus on forecasting, margin growth, and capital allocation. HR business partners, they can devote more of their time to designing incentives and building a culture that attracts and retains the best talent. And procurement leaders, they can reclaim hours to manage emerging risks or negotiate better terms for suppliers. Well, maybe not necessarily for software purchases, but it's a different topic. Well, in other words, you see a compounding effect of value across the business. But what excites me the most is that these gains aren't just for global giants like PwC. When you're a smaller, mid-sized organization, the impact is even greater. And that's because every hour of time saved or productivity gained means you can spend more time focusing on the things that move the needle in growing your business, like reducing supply chain costs, or retaining top talent, or growing your margins and giving your teams more face time with your customers. Or in the case of the customer we're about to hear from, it has allowed them to spend more time caring for patients in their communities and driving health outcomes that matter for people. Heartland Dental is the largest dental support organization here in the United States, with more than 1,800 practices and over 20,000 team members. But what sets them apart is that they have scaled like a large enterprise while keeping the agility and the culture of a mid-sized business. And technology has been at the center of that journey for sure. So to hear more, I'm really thrilled to now welcome Travis Franklin, the CFO of Heartland Dental. Hey, Travis, so great to have you. Thanks so much for joining us. And maybe let's start with this. When you began your journey and the transformation, what was your vision actually, and how did you build the early momentum that's needed?
So I'll share with you, you really like my response here. We give a lot of credit to SAP for that. So we had an opportunity, I'm getting a little older, so the years go by, but I think it was about 5 years ago. We had the opportunity to attend a Sapphire event in Orlando. And as we were going, we were thinking about all the problems and all the opportunities we had as a business and how we were thinking about putting in the strategies to go solve those problems with technology and with data. And so we walk in, I'll never forget, it was one of those big digital dashboards, and we walked in and at the top it said, Intelligent Enterprise. And then it showed a visualization of SAP HANA in the middle, which was the brain, that fed all of these different applications and all of these business use cases. And so for us, and what we do on that dental office that you saw, we'll go in and provide 30 plus different services. And you think about all of those different applications and then being able to bring that data out or back into the organization and truly to be able to understand that data end to end, department by department, breaking down the silos of data, breaking down the silos of operation, and really thinking about pulling all that data together and telling a different story, an end-to-end story that created massive value for our customer, which was the dentist.
Yeah, I do remember the Intelligent Enterprise back then at Sapphire. That's how it all started. Yeah. So Heartland has adopted a fully connected suite of applications, everything from Ariba for buying and invoicing, to Concur for travel, to SuccessFactors for performance management, and more. So where are you seeing the biggest breakthrough from this approach?
Yeah, so the biggest breakthrough that we saw was that when we set up this strategy and we started executing on the strategy, the breakthroughs were ones we didn't even think about at the time we were doing this. But by setting up this tech strategy and data strategy the right way, in my opinion, it gave us the opportunity to solve all kinds of different issues in the business. Issues we didn't know and issues we did know. And so many of the breakthroughs came through a lot of different enhancements and what we call N of one capabilities. In our industry, we have some solutions that are industry leading and that create a competitive advantage. And so I could list 10 of those things out for this group to really think about what business use cases we're driving, and we solved it end to end. One of the other core enablers that we found was when we think about things end to end, and we bring data and we bring the technology with it, what it translates into from a culture standpoint is a unified data platform. Solving things end to end actually brings your business together, and it creates a collaborative environment. And so we have a saying at Heartland Dental: work hard, work smart, and work together in a collaborative environment. And it's amazing all of the things that you can solve, all the problems you can solve, and all the opportunities you can take advantage of.
That's amazing. You're basically already doing a little bit what we saw from Stephan earlier.
Yes, yeah.
I also, we talked about backstage a little bit, you're also running SAC planning now in your role as a CFO on top of S/4HANA Cloud. Really as a foundation to change the way how you, change forecasting, modeling scenarios and drive growth then across the entire network. Can you share a little bit more from your perspective?
Yeah, happy to do that. You know, when you pull all of the data together, and we do leverage SAP HANA, in addition, we use SAC planning, SAP Sales Cloud, Analytic Cloud. And so that's our ability to take data and insights from all of those different applications or all of those different business units. And we're able to then distribute that data or that best thinking and data science and all these things go into segmenting out the business, finding key trends and insights in the business, then being able to distribute that information and visualize that data in a way to where a dentist or a key stakeholder in the business can consume it, whether it would be through an app on your phone, whether it be on your iPad, a laptop, or even a desktop. Any way that customer or that ultimate end user wants to see that data and visualize that data, we're able to distribute that way. So these insights and these planning, it gives us a much better ability as we sit down each year and plan our business out to provide real data insights and become a true partner in the business to help all of the folks in our business deliver consistent outcomes that actually exceed most of the market type returns. So it's been great.
No, thanks so much for sharing that. And maybe a final question, because people are always interested, of course, what are some of the lessons learned that you can share as a CFO here for the CFO community or beyond, also maybe for some other mid-market customers that are in the room?
Yeah, so I've been asked this question a lot, and what I would say is there's 2 or 3 things that I would want you guys to leave with. Number one is spend the time to truly understand what your biggest opportunities and biggest problems are to go solve. Think about things end to end. Write your process out. A lot of people lead with it, technology is going to solve everything. It'll solve a lot of things, but if you create a bad process, you're going to automate a bad process. So take the time, do the planning, truly think about it from a work hard, work smart, and work together. The more people you can get involved in that solutioning and actually laying out that process actually gets them buy-in to the change that's about to come with the innovation you're going to drive through the business. In addition to those pieces is that when you're thinking about when you transfer end to end and you think about data, pulling data in, governing the data, creating the enablement to go solve all these problems becomes key and critical. So what we did instantly was we spent a lot of time on procuring the data up into HANA so that we can distribute it out to all of these different applications, so that you can now create a collaborative environment that everybody has similar data, has procured data, has proper data definitions around that data, so that you know, in our example, we had 7 definitions of a new patient. Today, we have 1 definition of a new patient. So it's examples like that that I think are key and critical to get you guys the biggest success and bang for your buck. And I would say that these are the core enablers, the foundations you're building to not only solve problems today, but well into the future. And we've picked up a lot of efficiency and a lot of great results by being able to create that enabling tech and data strategy and actually getting that implemented into our practices and into our business.
Yeah, so Heartland is definitely a powerful example of what's possible with connections. And yeah, before we invite Mohamed back on stage, I do want to say a big thank you, Travis, for being here, for sharing that example. And I can't wait what's in it in the next couple of years and months and years to come. So thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Travis. The insights they shared really highlight what's possible from a value creation perspective when you really put customers at the center. And when you do that, all functions need to work together so that information flows real time, decisions are made with global maxima in mind, and you can keep every promise that matters. So moving on to our product announcements for this segment and bringing these insights to life, the theme of bringing these insights to life, we're really excited to announce an expanded set of intelligent applications with SAP Business Data Cloud. We announced a number of these at Sapphire, and today I'm excited to announce finance intelligence, supply chain intelligence, revenue intelligence, and one specifically designed for the CPG industry called Consumer Products Intelligence that really brings the power of app data and AI to life. And speaking of customers and being able to orchestrate engagements with the customers, I'm also equally excited to announce the launch of SAP Engagement Cloud, which harmonizes business data into actionable segments, triggers, and journeys for real-time, hyper-personalized interactions. And not just for your marketing needs, but also for improving supplier performance and procurement, accelerating alumni engagement in HCM, and turning service interactions into revenue-generating opportunities in customer service. To show you how this works in action, please join me in welcoming Laura Marwood to the stage. Laura.
When you hear engagements, you might picture a flashy marketing campaign. But in enterprises, the real test is how smartly we handle everyday touch points. For example, when a supplier misses a delivery or an interview candidate is waiting for feedback. These moments matter because they shape outcomes and relationships. And this is where SAP Engagement Cloud comes in. One platform powered by Joule and the Business Data Cloud to orchestrate interactions and make them meaningful. So, let's see this in action. Picture this. The HR team is getting ready for their annual alumni event. The alumni manager logs into SuccessFactors and sees a reminder that the event is just 98 days away. Behind the scenes, Engagement Cloud is already pulling in profile data from the People Intelligent app in the Business Data Cloud. The alumni manager, Alex, opens Joule and clicks on Create an Engagement Program. Instantly, he sees smart recommendation templates, and he picks the Save the Date template. Because the system knows that Alex is the alumni manager for North America, the target groups are already set. He just selects the relevant audience and moves on. Even better, send time optimization is automatically switched on, meaning every alumnus will get the email at the moment they're most likely to engage with it. And now for the fun part, personalization. The template already includes brand elements and dynamic content blocks. Alex adds an AI-generated subject line, tweaks a couple of details, and drops in his own signature, giving the email that personal touch. And that's it. With just a few clicks, Alex launches the campaign. Back on his homepage, he can see the new program scheduled, with AI-optimized send times. For the alumni, it's not just another email. It's a message that feels timely, relevant, and personal. And for the business, it means stronger connections, deeper loyalty, and measurable results from every single interaction. Now let's look at procurement. Our procurement lead, Christopher, starts the day in his SAP Ariba dashboard. He sees an alert about a new regulation and jumps straight in. With a single click, Christopher opens a Joule insight that shows him exactly which suppliers are affected and the compliance deadline they need to meet. Joule then builds a multi-step engagement program in SAP Engagement Cloud, pulling supplier data directly from the supplier management app in the Business Data Cloud. In seconds, the program is live. Managers get scheduled alerts, suppliers receive tailored compliance notices, and progress is tracked automatically for the next 30 days. The procurement manager then quickly consolidates this in an email, adds some personalization tokens, and hits launch. What once required weeks of coordination is now live in minutes, with compliance status visible in real time to every stakeholder. Now, before I close, let me give you a quick glimpse of how Engagement Cloud and Service Cloud are coming together. On the Engagement Cloud homepage, the agent can access a customer's full profile across channels like WhatsApp, email, and chat, along with purchases, loyalty status, and service history. With Joule, booking a service or extending a warranty takes seconds, turning every interaction into a seamless personal experience. What you've just seen isn't just a demo, it's the future of Engagement Cloud. SAP Engagement Cloud transforms scattered interactions into AI-driven journeys across the entire business suite, ensuring every touch point is timely, personal, and measurable. And leading brands like Luxottica and Versuni are already unlocking enterprise-grade capabilities, and the value is only beginning. Beta begins in November with general availability in 2026. And for a deeper look, don't miss tomorrow's customer experience keynote. And with that, Mohammed, back to you.
Thank you, Laura. Listen, we've covered a lot today. We've outlined our point of view on the future of business applications. We talked about turning uncertainty into opportunity, about the role of people in the age of AI, and how do we elevate customer centricity. The theme across all of it was the same, though, and hopefully that came across clearly. To create exponential value and to get to the global maxima for your enterprise, the whole matters. And that's what we are focused on, providing you with best-in-class applications seamlessly integrated across the breadth of finance, spend, supply chain, HCM, and customer experience, along with a seamless application data and AI flywheel that comes together as one to create unparalleled value. Nothing else, we believe, can compare to this in the world of business applications from a value statement. And we don't have to look too far to find real examples of this seamlessness and the value it creates in our daily lives. Take the modern phone, for example. It's not just a phone anymore. It's a GPS, a flashlight, a health monitor, a workout coach, things that used to be disparate and separate, now brought together into an integrated, seamless, singular experience with unparalleled value. We see the same story unfolding in the automotive industry. Cars were once simple devices that were meant to take you from point A to point B. You had to bring your own maps, your own music, stay hyper alert to be in lanes, stop before you get too close to something, and even for those that could do it, parallel park yourself. But now, all of that is connected seamlessly into a singular experience. An experience that is now even approaching its own state of autonomous execution with self-driving cars. Both are great examples of multiple functions that were once separated or bolted on at best, now seamlessly together as one, creating unmatched value. The world of business and business applications is no different. This is the unmatched value of SAP Business Suite that brings together the power of best-in-class applications with a semantically rich, harmonized data layer to power high-value AI as, again, a singular, seamless experience. It helps you manage uncertainty, evolve your workforce, and break down silos to create amazing customer value. SAP Connect is an event that is also built on that same principle, bringing people across functions together to help unlock the most amazing value for your organization. Thank you for attending our inaugural SAP Connect. I hope you have a great rest of the event.